Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sake Revolution. This is America's first sake podcast. I'm your host, John Puma from the Sake Notes, also the administrator over at the Internet Sake Discord and the moderator at Reddit's r/sake community.
And I'm your host, Timothy Sullivan. I'm a sake samurai. I'm the director of education at the Sake Studies Center, and I'm the founder of the Urban Sake website. And John and I will be here tasting and chatting about all things sake and doing our best to make it fun and easy to understand.
Tim, I can't get used to hearing the music when we're actually doing this live. It's like, so for people at home, when we do this normally, like you just kind of pretend the music is playing and then I do the thing and blah, blah. But like hearing it, I'm like, oh, wow, this is actually pretty cool. Normally I only get that in post.
Well, John, I have to say, happy Sake Day.
Happy Sake Day.
We are here live with all of our friends at Brooklyn Kura. Say hi, everyone.
Yes.
All right. And we have to welcome our VIP guest for Sake Day, Byron Stithem. Byron is the owner and brewer at Proper Sake and the owner of Rice Vice in Nashville, Tennessee. Byron, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Byron is no stranger to this show, though.
Is that right?
I think you've been here a few times.
Byron, do you know how many times you've been on Sake Revolution?
I believe I've lost count.
Well, wait a minute. Don't say that because you've been on 3 times, and I bet you can count higher than 3.
You'd be surprised.
So yeah, you've been on a whopping 3 times. You've been first way back in July of 2021, which was one of the first times we ever sat in a room and did a show together. And it was you and me and Tim in Tim's apartment, Tim's living room.
Yeah.
With a bunch of mics and a lot of mic bleed, which I imagine we're going to get tonight too, which is great. Then in March 2022, we did our episode 100 call-in where we had all of our friends jump in and say hi to us. And you were one of our friends who jumped in and said hi to us. And we really appreciate that. But we weren't done with you yet. and it keeps it's always weird situations because it's like, we had the one where like we were in Tim's living room and then we've got the call-in and now going on, we've got the Craft Sake Fest where you came over to our tent after winning an award and chatted with us for a little bit and did a little episode with us. We've yet to do like the normal Zoom with you. And I think that's kind of your thing now. You're on Sake Revolution a lot, but it's never just a regular episode.
I'd prefer to do this in person whenever we can.
Yeah, well, now you're a 3 out of 4, so yeah, that's pretty good.
All right, so we've had you on 3 times, and we've told some of your story before, but I'm sure we'll have a few listeners who didn't listen to those previous episodes. So for them, can you give us a little introduction to yourself, Proper Sake, and Rice Vice?
Yeah, so Proper Sake started about 10 years ago, and we predominantly do kind of old world style sakes, so Yamahais, Kimotos, Baremotos, and since then, it has evolved into a multi-location and multi-product line, but the baby of the whole operation is, of course, still sake. But we do anything koji-based. So we do koji-based beers, we do shochu, we do gin and whiskey, all with koji. And then we now have, a bar in Nashville, a bar in New Orleans, where we highlight all of these things and hopefully demystify them for people in person.
Ooh, I like that callback. That was nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one thing you said is something we had not heard before. You have a Rice Vice in New Orleans?
We do.
Well, tell us, how did you get there and how did that happen and why New Orleans?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense really, but we've always loved New Orleans. My business partner lives there most of the year, and we thought it would be an interesting place to try out a second location. And so far, it's been pretty well received. It was not, from a permitting perspective, an easy venture, but we're finally open. And so far, it's been a lot of good times. And we were there to open up for Tales of the Cocktail, which is a big thing. Mm-hmm. Coming into month 4 here.
Wow.
Okay, I've got a very important question for you. In your New Orleans location, which day is more important, Sake Day or Mardi Gras?
TBD.
I mean, he's here
considering
on
Sake
Day.
But we do have events going on in Nashville and New Orleans as we speak.
All right.
My phone's actually been buzzing quite a bit.
Awesome. So we also wanted to ask you if you have any new sake products that are coming out or hitting the market.
That's interesting that you ask, because it seems like you're leading the witness a little bit.
Just a touch, just a little bit.
Another item that I mentioned that we started doing recently is distilled products, and part of the permitting headache that is involved with certain subsections of sake production is the distillation portion. And as of last summer, we also now have the licensure to operate a certain special style of sake called Hanjozo. And although we had been beta testing in and around the fringes of legality, we do finally have the correct licensure in place to produce a very interesting style of sake called Hanjozo.
Nice. And so Hanjozo, for our listeners who may not be familiar, and shame on you for not listening to our episode on Arutan, what is Hanjozo?
So, Hanjozo sake would be sake where a small amount of distilled spirit is added towards the end of fermentation. And the idea being that you can extract some of the more insoluble compounds that would be trapped in the water and rice in a normal production process. What's interesting about what we're doing is we are also using distillate that is made from previously brewed sake.
Oh.
So it's like triple sake.
Yeah. So the normal distillate, when you make this alcohol added style of sake, the normal distillate that is added is a distillate of sugar cane. It's a neutral spirit that brewers in Japan just call brewer's alcohol. And you said that you're using leftover sake, is that right? Or you're distilling sake?
Yeah, we're distilling sake. So we're carving out a little bit of every single batch and reserving that for distillate just for this purpose.
Yeah. One way that I recently heard alcohol added sake being described is that alcohol helps dissolve things. It's a solvent. And when you add it to the mash, you can dissolve additional rice, you can bring out additional flavors, you can round sharp edges. And people often wonder when they hear about alcohol added sake for the first time, like, why are you adding booze to booze? Like, what's the point of putting distilled alcohol into sake? And it really is boosting aromas, rounding flavors, dissolving additional rice. And it is really fun when you do a sake tasting to taste a pure rice style, one that doesn't have the added alcohol and one that does, kind of side by side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. And any other news coming out of your world?
That may involve our world?
Perhaps. So we recently finally started working with a New York distributor. So with any luck, in the next month or two here, we'll have Proper Sake products in the New York area. And yeah, that's part of this trip, is finalizing all of that. Thank you for having us. It's wonderful to finally be here.
That is some hot goss right there.
That makes me very happy, because previously, in order to get my hands on delicious Proper Sake, I needed to contact you and then go to your Vino shipper and and get things sent up here. And having it just local is so much easier. And I cannot wait to be able to hop into a place and get your stuff here.
I agree with all this.
Yeah, that's really big news. But I lured all of our guests, I lured them here with the notion that Proper Sake is not available in New York. So for today, that's still true.
It's still true.
Okay.
It's not a lie.
Literally is true tonight here.
Tonight.
So it's a fib.
Yeah. Well, hopefully will this bring you up to New York more often?
That's certainly my hope, especially as I continue to rack up Revolution appearances.
Yes.
We call them Revolution credits, sir.
Yes. And there's another Toji that you want to, have more visits then, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
I don't know if we're going to name him, but
But he works upstairs.
All right. So we're going to do a tasting of the proper sake tonight. I hope everyone's looking forward to that. It's going to be in just a bit. But before we get into the tasting, I wanted to ask you if you could talk a little bit about your philosophy of sake brewing. One of the things that, as I've studied sake over the years, that's been really valuable is to taste with the person who made it. And they can talk about what sake means to them, what aspects of sake they really value, what they look out for when they're producing the sake, and what they want the customer to get out of drinking their sake. And we'd love to hear a little bit of that from you before we taste your sake. What's your general philosophy around that?
Yeah, I think we came to this from a very old world perspective in that when I first started drinking sake, I fell in love with some of these more robust, rich styles of sake like Yamaha and Kimoto. And living in Tennessee, that's not something we have readily available. So a lot of the impetus for the business was just to learn how to make these sakes so that I could enjoy them myself. And over time, that has really spun into some adjacent ventures, but more importantly, hopefully learning to grow the craft of Yamaha and Kimoto sake. So we definitely lean towards the more rich side. I also find that there tends to be an interesting acidity to Yamaha and Kimoto that works really well with American cuisine, especially in the South, where it tends to be a little heavier. Mm-hmm. Our flagship products are probably more of a blend, hopefully more versatile. They're very very old world meets new world in that hopefully there's some nice aroma and they have a dryness to them that makes them really approachable with a wide array of cuisines. But the sakes that we've brought tonight are definitely more the rich, full-bodied styles, and I hope that you all are interested in going on that journey too.
Yeah. Do you have any particular food pairings that you like with your sakes that you serve at Rice Vice? Anything in particular you bring in to pair with your style of brewing?
Yeah, I think anything grilled is always a winner. But outside of that, we try and mix it up with some pretty esoteric styles of cuisine. And more often than not, it seems like lately we have a lot of Italian and adjacent cuisine where you're really kind of relying on the umami of tomatoes and aged cheeses mixed with the umami and similar compounds that you might find in a Yamaha or Kimoto sake.
Nice. So, so we're going to go back a little bit. We're going to rewind to when you first got Rice Vice going. And it's been some time now. And so how has kind of the Nashville market for sake changed with you there for the past bunch of years?
I think it changed in a big way when we opened because there was really nothing like it at the time and still isn't, for better or for worse. But there's really not anywhere else that you can go drink sake from a purely educational standpoint and or just a purely frictionless enjoyment standpoint. There are more and more restaurants where you can access a cool list of sake, but at the same time, it's still not a place where you could go and sit down and learn kind of at your own leisurely pace and or your own expedited pace. So that really is the mission and the goal, and I hope that people find value in that as well.
Yeah, and so as you mentioned earlier, your business partner lives in New Orleans. So that was one of the reasons that you went over there. What else drew you to saying, like, this is the second place, this is where we're going to go?
Well, I kind of felt like he wasn't doing enough. No, it's more that we knew the market. We have a lot of friends there, and it is obviously, a well-known drinking town.
I've heard that.
So we knew that the food component could be minimal, and people would probably still be interested. It's also an interesting place from a cocktail perspective because it is also somewhat world-renowned for its cocktail culture. And we wanted to lean into that a little bit with a lot of our new specialty products, whether it's shochus or gins or whiskeys, things that we can leverage that community to think of new and interesting ways to enjoy a lot of these koji-based ferments and also, sake, of course. But how do you just get people in the door? Because the ultimate goal is to trick people into drinking sake, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes. We're all alleged. At the end of the day, we're all ninjas. We're just trying to slide sake into somebody's life and be like, aha, we got you.
Yes, as I like to say, welcome to the dark side of the force. Yes, when we get them into sake. Now, the sake educator in me is coming out a little bit. We've mentioned Kimoto, we've mentioned Yamahai, how this is a driving force for you. And for our listeners and for our people here today, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about Kimoto and Yamahai, just a brief description of what it is and what you mentioned, higher acidity, but what else draws you to those styles, and maybe a little education piece on that.
Yeah, so the process of making a Kimoto or Yamahai sake requires kind of a whole precursor that wouldn't exist in a normal sake production, where you are building up a lactic acid shubo or yeast starter with which to ferment the whole batch. And the difference between that and a traditional or contemporary sake would be that you are building up this lactic acid culture naturally, and along the way, you get all sorts of fun flavors and bacteria that add to the depth and versatility of the sake, in my opinion. Along the way, you also, because of those interesting bacterium, get some higher acidity components. And although the product takes twice as long to make, I think it's twice as good.
Twice as good.
Yeah,
Maybe three times. I don't know.
When I describe Yamahai and Kimoto, if I'm standing behind a table and I just have a few seconds to describe it, I often describe it as an old school brewing method.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good shorthand for understanding what Kimoto and Yamahai are. It's the precursors to the modern yeast starter, and it's known for funkier flavors, more acidity, more boldness. And I think people can, I don't know if you agree with this, but some people have a love-hate relationship with Kimoto and Yamahai. There's some people that really get into those bolder, richer, earthier flavors. And some people, I'm not naming names, but some people prefer cleaner, crisper sakes. Right?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, how about that?
Interesting.
It is interesting.
But we definitely try and have a spectrum. And some of my most inspirational sakes and sake breweries are the ones that really find that balance between old and new. And I think most of our, especially wider range distributed products, hopefully fall in that category, where it has the depth and versatility of a Yamahai Kimoto, but it also has the nose, some dryness and some elegance that you might expect from something more contemporary.
Yeah, I think the first time we had you on the show, you had, for me, coined the phrase pretty Yamahai.
Yeah.
And I think it was we were tasting Diplomat that day. I was like, this is what he means. And yes, this is like it really, because I'm not the Yamahai guy. Neither is Tim. But having that and being like, oh, this really, it's bridging that gap. It's got that fullness, but it really does like still have a little something for the Ginjo heads like me. And it really is just a really tasty sake.
Yeah, I mean, that is the $1 million question. How do you make a sake for everyone?
That's hard.
Yeah.
I think it's a really hard question to answer.
Yeah.
But one thing that I think really speaks to the Kimoto and Yamahai style that you make is that when you get into the discussion of food pairing, it just opens up a door that takes you to different places. You can pair a wider range of food with Kimoto and Yamahai styles. And it all comes back to the U word, umami. This is one of the cornerstones of what we get to when we talk about sake and food pairing. And Kimoto and Yamahai, those old school styles that give us that deeper flavor, more umami. You can open doors to food pairing that I think are not possible with light, clean, dainty styles, right?
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. And especially living in the South, that is a super prevalent concept with introducing people to sake in relatively foreign environments. So we do have a lot of Japanese cuisine, but even still, it is not a predominant part of the market. So figuring out how we can get sake into these different, more Western cuisine focused restaurants is always part of the calculus.
Yeah. And it's, taking that a tiny bit further, those light sakes that I tend to like, and lighter, fruitier sakes I tend to like, when you have heavier more flavorful Western food with them, they get completely lost. Like when you have some of that food and then you sip that sake, it's like you lose the elegance, you lose the thing that makes a sake special in a lot of cases. But with the Yamahais or Kimotos, those pre-modern styles, it's just like, nope, this is fine. They're welcoming it. They're just like, oh, come on in, let's go. And that's kind of the fun part about that style for me.
For me too.
Yeah. So switching gears a little bit, I think that one thing I've noticed this year, 2025 in particular, is that I've felt through hearing about many different breweries, yours included, that it feels like there's a real momentum picking up in the U.S. sake industry. I'd be curious to get your thoughts if you think that there's growth happening, if you think there's momentum happening. You know, people have asked me about sake, and I said, oh yeah, it's the latest craze, 2,000 years in the making. You know, it's like always been on the cusp of becoming the next big thing. And I've been in sake for 20 years. And, but I do feel that there is real growth happening in the U.S. industry right now. What's your perspective on that? Have you noticed anything happening?
I feel like sake is kind of the little engine that could in that department, because it's never been explosive in growth, at least in the time I've been here, but it does continue to grow year over year, and interest in Japanese culture and Japanese cuisine continues to grow. You only have to look at Kyoto this year to highlight that.
Yeah.
But I think all in all, that's pretty effective in the way that sake has grown into the market. It's been organic. It hasn't been an overnight success, and I hope that means that it'll have longevity and will continue to grow as well.
Excellent. So Tim, I've noticed that while we have been chatting, one of our glasses has some sake in it now.
Yes.
And I think that's a sign.
Yeah. I think we can transition to our first sake tasting.
Mm-hmm.
And as we do, I want to encourage all of you to write your questions on the paper. If you have any questions that have come up during our initial discussion, we're going to be collecting those right after our second sake tasting. So please get those questions ready. And whenever you're ready to pour the second sake, I think we can do that as well. So we are going to start our first sake tasting.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to taste sake with the sake maker because we don't have to introduce it, John.
Normally I'd be getting ready to read off stats, but I have a living, breathing version of that right now, right next to me. So this is great. So Byron, in my glass here, I have the Proper Sake Soft Power Kimoto Daigenjo. By the way, I love that name. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, tell us a little bit about this sake and what we've got in our hands.
Yeah, so the original version of this sake is very much the meat in the middle, new meets old previously, but this one has actually been aged for 2 years unpasteurized. So this is a special glimpse into...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
More hot goss.
Yeah.
This is like, is this normally how this goes out, or is this something you did special for today?
No, this is something that I keep around for special occasions. Hopefully that's okay.
No, it's very okay. It's more than okay.
Okay. So yeah, this one is a Kimoto Daiginjo, two styles that don't normally go together. So the rice is milled to 40%, indicative of a cleaner, more elegant style, but it is also Kimoto. So it has that old world school production where you're trying to draw out that acid and umami. And the super fresh soft power is very aromatic. It's a contemporary yeast. So a lot of what you get would be more floral and boisterous on the nose. After 2 years of aging at 5 degrees Celsius, it has become a very subdued version where all of that aroma, I think, goes into the body. And now you're dealing with the palate instead of the nose, hopefully.
Interesting. All right.
So this was hand carried for us because your distributor is starting soon, but not yet.
Yep, it's true.
And I don't think they're distributing the special occasions bottles.
Yeah.
Now, when I taste this, can we get a few of the stats? Because,
Yes.
Oh, yes. That would be good too.
The sake rice and the rice milling.
Yeah, so the sake rice is grown in Arkansas. It's a varietal called Titan. And it is milled to 40%. So 60% removed, 40% remaining. The yeast is 1801, so a very modern yeast. And again, the production style is Kimoto, so old world production. It's a 4-week process just to get the yeast starter going, and then we start brewing after that.
Nice. And then you've had this unpasteurized for 2 years.
That's correct.
And has it since been pasteurized, or is this still a Nama?
This is still a Nama Nama.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I can give my initial reaction very freely. And I think that if you ever need an example of what umami in sake tastes like, this is it. Get your bottle of soft power, keep it unpasteurized, and age it for 2 years. And you can experience the umami we're tasting. There is a lovely combination of savoriness and rice flavors, I think, that balance beautifully here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You.
Did you go ahead and sip without us, Tim?
I did.
Yeah. Sorry,
I jumped
did
ahead.
too.
You did.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Well, Byron, how you doing?
Kampai.
That's for the end. Yeah,
Well, you know.
we can do the aroma as well. Yeah, but I think the flavor.
I like how you were so excited. You just like went for it.
I know.
You never do that.
Yeah. I jumped ahead.
I know. You usually set the pace. I'm the one that usually has to hold back. So I'm getting like, it's a little cheesy notes that I'm getting, but not in a bad way. I know if people here may know that I do not enjoy cheese. That doesn't mean I don't dislike the aroma of cheese necessarily. It just means I don't enjoy eating it.
Yeah, so the lactic acid bacteria that is present in a lot of these ferments would be similar to what you might experience with a yogurt or another lactobacillus culture. So there's definitely no dairy in here,
No.
but
Yeah, and
you wouldn't be wrong.
Yeah, lactic aromas and tastes are something that are quite common in sake. You can think of cheese, cream, yogurt, butter. Those lactic characteristics are common and can be very delicious. And in my mind, whenever I smell that or taste that, it opens up the idea of pairing with cheese, of course,
Absolutely.
which is my secret weapon to bring people to the dark side of the force. Yes.
If only you had some kind of a episode of the show where you went into cheese and sake, or perhaps a series. We'll see.
Yes. So I'm very passionate about sake and cheese. Yeah.
So I've now caught up now, and I've had my sip, and I have to say that so the aroma really set me up for something that I thought was going to be a lot more lactic forward, heavier. And when I sip on it, I'm like, oh, this is so dangerously drinkable, and and I'm really loving this. This is really nice. Yeah, I really was expecting something that was going to be a lot more like punch in my face, and instead is really just. There's nothing wrong with a punch in the face sometimes with a good sake. Yeah, but no, it's just like it's a lot more a lot smoother than I expected.
Yeah,
So
I
very
think
nice.
the daiginjo component of this, especially with the very cold aging, helps keep a lot of the traditional koshu aged flavors kind of at bay, and hopefully gives you the best of both worlds.
And let me translate for you, Byron. When John says punch in the face, he means it as a compliment.
He does absolutely. Now, you've had a really good piece of alcohol that's like been like pow. Like you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Don't pretend.
It's a nama.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on food pairing for this particular sake?
Yeah, so I think this one, similarly, if you're leaning into grilled elements, it may be on the softer side, not something too aggressively charred. I think it's really great with various grilled vegetables of the yakitori variety. And then, back to the Italian thing, as long as it's not too heavy, maybe a light pasta with a lemony sauce, maybe some butter. Not cream. Let's not go with cream because that's just going to overdo it. But yeah,
Yeah.
And soft power.
and soft power.
What brought that on? Was that something you were you like tasting it and trying to put it together? Like what's the name for this?
Well, is a couple of things. One is that the soft power component being you have old world meets new world. You have soft, you have powerful. But the very first sake that we put into distribution is called the Diplomat. And so there's been a kind of ongoing diplomatic theme throughout our naming conjunctions and processes. And so this was just kind of a layup in that regard.
Excellent. I like it.
Yeah. And we should also describe the label for the people at home.
Yeah, the label is also in that direction, but there's not much to do with diplomacy. It has a cat on it. But it's a cat that is screaming kind of violently into the void. And it's also a kitten, so
Yeah.
it's cute but powerful. Hopefully, in many other ways, that sums up what this sake is trying to do.
Yeah. So if anyone needs a visual image for the label, if you've ever seen that poster that says "Hang in there" and there's a kitty hanging from a rope, it's kind of like that vibe a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's very cool. All your labels are cool.
Thank you.
Yes. Great,
tried.
fantastic
We tried.
graphic design.
Wonderful. I think with that, we may pivot to our second sake, the Spirit Guide.
Okay.
Yes. So the second sake we're going to taste is Proper Sake Spirit Guide Honjozo.
Yeah.
This is an alcohol-added style of sake, as we mentioned at the beginning. So, Byron, do you want to give us the rundown on some of the stats for the sake, the rice, the milling, etc.?
So the rice for this one is kind of a mixed bag. We had a handful of rices that we were interested in doing from a mill rate. So these just happened to be in-house. Titan, of course, because we always have that. And then we did have some Yamada Nishiki, but we also did have a sprinkling of omachi. This was, so everything in here is 65% except for that omachi, which was 70.
Nice.
And technically, Honjozo is supposed to be 70 or under. I don't know if it's under 70, but anyways, give us a break,
Yeah. You got it.
It's okay. Since you're in America, it is not Nihonshu, so it could be whatever you'd like.
Yeah, it actually doesn't matter at all, does
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
As long as it's delicious and we all love it. Honestly, I was surprised a little bit by that because I assumed, like a lot of places do with their Honjozo, is that it would just be the Diplomat, but with your Araten component. So I like that you kind of went outside of that and had a little fun with it.
We've done a few different ones, and in this one especially, we had a real grab bag of rice left over from various projects, and wanted to see how those might express themselves in harmony.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So let's give it a smell.
Yes. All together, Tim.
You might find this hard to believe, but it's also a Yamahai.
I do not find that hard to believe.
I feel like we should have said something about that. That's our bad.
Yeah. Well, this is a brand new product, right? This
is.
It's true.
Yeah. So
We're allowed to trip over it a little bit.
yeah, and we need the Toji to guide us on this. So
Our spirit
this
guide.
is a
I'm
Yamaha.
stumbling, but
This is a
we'll get there.
Yamaha Honjozo.
Yes.
And similar to Kimoto, Yamaha is one of the old school starter methods that introduces acidity and umami into sake. And when I smell this, I get, call me crazy, but I get a little hint of something cherry.
I know what
like
you're
that.
talking about.
Yeah.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
This is a number 9 yeast.
Yeah.
And again, mostly 65% mill rice. And then, the spirit that's added right before we press the sake is a collection of sake distillate. So previous batches of sake that have been distilled.
Wow. The thing that's so cool about that, guys, is that I mentioned earlier that most brewers use distillate of sugarcane to fortify their sake. But using a distillate of sake is super old school. Like that's what they used to do in Japan
what
before
I
industrialization came
Yeah.
along. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That was
Are you trying to
certainly
say they didn't have
part of the
neutral
calculus.
sugar cane spirit?
All right, let's give it a taste.
Yes.
So when I taste an alcohol-added sake versus a pure rice sake or a junmai sake, the thing that always jumps out at me first is the texture of the sake, the mouthfeel, how round it is versus a pure rice style. So sake number 1 is pure rice style, and it's a little more streamlined, straightforward. This coats the palate more, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. A chemical component of distillates, which is really interesting. And if you taste this particular distillate on its own, you can kind of get a feel for what that palate coating texture is.
Yeah. And adding alcohol to sake also, many brewers have told me when I visited breweries in Japan that it boosts aromas as well. And I think if you compare sake 1 and 2 here, the second sake is going to have a more pronounced aroma for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's saying something considering the first one is a 2-year English novel. Yeah, it is very coating on the palate. It is thick with a couple of C's, and very tasty. It does beg for food. I'm glad I have some mixed nuts up here.
Yeah.
So I am having it with some salty food, which is really nice.
This might be our most food-friendly sake yet.
And you aim for that. That's like that's not saying a little bit from you, you know.
Yeah, it's the world I came from, and it's the world that I will always be, stuck in. So hopefully,
No.
well, we all eat.
It's true. We do.
It's something I think about every day.
So as we are enjoying the last sips of these two sakes, I'd like to ask Casey and Linnea to collect our questions. We're going to be doing our audience Q&A session. So everyone, if you have your questions, have them ready. We're going to get them collected, and we'll give some to John, some to me. And Byron, are you ready for this?
Probably not.
I think you're going to do great.
Okay.
That's okay. I'm
That's
not ready.
generous.
Yeah, so while we're waiting for that, any food pairing recommendations for your spirit guide?
I think you can go a little bigger on the flavors. I think spicy cuisine, especially because that sake is going to stick on your mouth for a little bit longer with any luck. Especially, Southeast Asian Thai, maybe some Korean cuisine. But also I feel like this one's been working really well with barbecue lately.
Ooh, that sounds good. Can I give you my inspiration that I had?
Yes, please.
Okay. I don't know if it's the autumnal vibes in the air, but I'm feeling like this would be the perfect sake to bring to Thanksgiving.
Oh my
Think
God.
about turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, right?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
We accidentally did it.
We cracked the code.
I brought sake to a family Thanksgiving once, and my thought was Yamaha. Like, I had to bring Yamaha. There's no way anything else was going to really work with like that American Thanksgiving food. So I'm glad that my guest several years ago ended up standing up against scrutiny here.
Yeah. I'm from Kansas, and it's very casserole heavy. So maybe that informs a lot of what I do as well. So maybe when I'm talking about pairings in the future, it should really just be casserole based.
I love a good casserole. You've heard it here first, everyone. Sake and casseroles is going to be the...
You also heard today that Tim loves a good casserole.
I do. You know what? Actually, I have to be honest. When I tasted this, I thought about my favorite part of Thanksgiving, which is stuffing. For Thanksgiving is just a stuffing delivery vehicle. For me. It's like, all I want is the stuffing. And that is what this spirit guide made me think of.
Interesting.
I'll take it.
Yeah, we're being honest here.
I love
We
it.
can let our hair down, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact,
I don't know if
you
I
might
can.
see stuffing on the Rice Vice menus from here on out.
There you go. Just stuffing. It's a bowl of stuffing.
Okay, so this is my favorite part of our live shows, John Puma.
Really?
Yes. Oh, we got a
Oh, we got a
question.
napkin.
We got a question on a napkin.
On a napkin. Do we want to lead with that one, regardless of what it says?
All right. Okay. So,
I've got
I'll let
a
you go
winner.
first.
So
Okay,
I'm gonna
go for it.
So, and this is like shame on us for not asking this question, Tim.
Go for it.
Byron, thank you for coming. Your sakes and temperature. What kind of temperatures do you like to play with your sakes?
A wonderful question, and one that I spend a good amount of time thinking about, depending on what the occasion is.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to prefer super cold, which is kind of counterintuitive to these full-bodied styles, because I also really like the bitter components that you might get in that environment. That said, the most honest perspective the sake is going to give is going to be more of a room temperature. But most of what we do also kind of lends itself to being warm. And I come from the Philip Harper school of thought that like it can't be hot enough, you know?
Yes, he also keeps his sake in refrigerators so it doesn't get too cold. So there is that.
Yeah. He also says once it leaves the brewery, he doesn't care what you do with it.
Yeah, he's one of a kind.
He's a real character.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim, what do you got?
My turn. Okay, this is a question for Byron.
Wow.
If
Byron's popular.
you could have one piece of equipment or ingredient from Japan, what would it be?
I like that.
Man. Well, there's a lot of pieces of equipment that we need from Japan. So I'm going to go with one ingredient, and that would just be fresh yuzu.
Yuzu.
Yeah,
There's a tiny little yuzu farm in New Jersey, but it's hard to get.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, people love yuzu, myself included. And when you put it on the cocktail menu, it seems to do very well.
Yeah. All right, John, you're up.
Sorry, these are pretty good. I'm trying to decide what to use here. Okay, so this one actually has two questions. We're going to lead off with the first one, though. So as far as we're all aware, is Proper's Spirit Guide Honjozo the first American Honjozo or Aru-10?
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah?
Yes.
Is it?
So, yeah, I don't want to speak out of school, but I don't know of any others.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
That's
sure
right.
people have done beta testing and played around with things before, maybe even in their own homes.
Perhaps.
But I think as far as like a product with a label on it, this is probably it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be, and it's available online.
It is available.
Coming soon to New York.
Yeah. Well,
Coming
and
soon.
then the follow-up question is, what is going to be coming to New York?
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So hopefully a little bit of everything.
Nice.
Yeah. We will be hopefully in the market in the next few weeks to month here. And I think there'll be a nice array of products from all of the sake SKUs, but also hopefully some of the spirits and our beer as well.
Yeah. Okay, so we are doing a live stream today with our Patreon members. So if you want to support Sake Revolution, you can join us on Patreon. And we have some people outside of New York who wanted to be part of this evening. So we're streaming live on Patreon. And we have a few questions from our Patreon audience.
Okay.
So this is for Byron. How do you introduce lactobacillus to your ferments? Addition or natural occurrence? So when you're doing your
also
starter.
a great question.
Yeah.
And we do both ways. So a lot
So the
of what
answer
we
is yes.
do is traditional Yamahai, where you are introducing it naturally just based on what is existing in the brewery and in the rice. Sometimes we also do what's called hot Yamahai, where we do an expedited process. And that would be where you introduce a pre-cordoned off lactobacillus culture. And so early on in the process, when we were doing Yamahai, we were collecting all these different lactobacillus cultures and figuring out which ones worked most effectively, had the best flavor. So we store those and prop them up for certain batches as well.
All right.
Completely changing gears. So this podcast is, in case anybody hasn't figured it out, Sake Revolution. And apart from the Sake Revolution, Byron, what is your favorite revolution?
My favorite revolution. Way to go. You know, it's hard to say. There's probably not been a bigger revolution than the sake revolution or a more important one. But I would just say go out there tonight and drink some sake and listen to Rage Against the Machine. You can have your own micro revolution.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay, we have one more question from our Patreon viewers. I like your beers, but it's nice to see you have shochu as well. Is it made with sake kasu? So this is a question about your shochu?
Yeah. So we do a kasutori shochu, which is a shochu that's made with sake byproduct that's re-fermented and distilled. We also do any number of other shochus, some that are just purely rice-based, some that are essentially sake that's distilled. We do agave, we do sorghum. We've done one recently with sourdough bread. That's been pretty fun. So we take sourdough from a local bakery that's pretty renowned in Nashville. And once we have a critical mass of sourdough, we will ferment that again and make alcohol with it and then distill it.
I bet that shochu is crummy.
I am deeply curious as to what that's going to taste like. I'm a big sourdough fan. I'm like listening. I'm like, all right. I want sourdough booze. That sounds pretty good.
You know, it's not as wild as we had hoped and
No?
expected. It's actually quite palatable, which was a surprise.
I appreciate that you want me to temper my expectations.
Yeah.
So yeah, in what ways has the Nashville food culture and just culture in general and flavors influenced proper sake?
I would say initially the biggest reason for starting the brewery was that we just didn't have these styles of sake. So for better or worse, that did have some amount of information to get the whole thing off the ground. And then, yeah, the general culture around heavier cuisine, which continues to evolve, certainly probably played into the style of sake we make. Over time, it's also been really interesting to see Nashville as a city grow, which for those of you not in there regularly or living there, it's more or less doubled in size in the last decade. And that has been really interesting from a culinary perspective because we have a lot of amenities and chefs and interesting beverage options that wouldn't have existed previously. And it's been kind of an interesting adolescence and growth process to go along with that as well.
Okay, I've got a good question here for Byron. How much of your sake is the result of happy accidents versus or scientific planning? What goes into the different styles you brew? Happy Sake Day.
Thank you. Happy Sake Day. I would say we've been pretty fortunate with the amount of accidents that we've had, happy or otherwise. And part of that probably being that the more robust styles of sake lend themselves to these wilder flavors anyways. So it's possible that a happy accident I found to be more interesting than not. I would say one interesting development as of late is now that we're distilling, if something doesn't taste exactly as we'd like, it goes into the rotabat and now it gets distilled.
And we're going to find it in our spirit vat.
Not a chance.
And it comes back to the sake again. Nice. So I have a question. I'm going to anonymize this. This is from somebody from Japan who's going back to Japan tonight. They were yes. Who could it be? Anyway, they were really impressed by the aroma and the taste of the sakes that you brought tonight. But they want to know how you think that we can like mainstream this kind of thing in the U.S. How do we get sake into places that are not just Japanese cuisine? Because that's always been the trick. That's the question. That's like the thing everybody wants to crack is how do we get this in other places?
Yeah, I think that is the gazillion-dollar question. And I guess I would come back to the original thesis around what our idea is to take sake directly to the people. And the goal there is that people can access and learn about sake at their own chosen speed. And hopefully that is accretive then to the greater market, which we are always trying to sell sake to non-Japanese restaurants and more pick it up over time. But I think it is interesting that the market continues to grow and more of these, whether it's Michelin-starred restaurants or interesting non-Japanese restaurants begin to pick up a wider sake list because they realize it works better with cuisine than a lot of different wines or beers. I guess ultimately it all comes back to the slower growth process that sake has, whether intentionally or otherwise, brought upon itself that will hopefully lead to very sustained and long-term growth. Again, it seems like it is one of the few beverages that is doing okay in this downturn of alcohol consumption.
Yeah. Do you have any more questions?
How are you doing?
I have two more.
Yeah, two more? Go for it.
So this is a question for Byron. What is a less commonly visited prefecture for sake that you would recommend?
We were talking about this earlier. Fukushima is a fun one to go visit and, it's not like they need your support, but they would love it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There obviously were incidents that happened at some point that maybe made it difficult for brewers to keep their operations above water. I hate to say, but the idea being that Fukushima has some of the most interesting sakes, and it's finally being highlighted again in a really interesting way. And we've even seen some specific brewer-related activities in New York, which was brought to my attention tonight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, I would highly encourage people to go visit. It's a very short train ride from Tokyo.
Yeah, and Fukushima, they win ton of awards in Japan. Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I think that the aforementioned events have also discouraged people from visiting the area, and it's a beautiful area, and people should go over there. I mean, so many people are visiting Japan, record numbers every year, and they're going to the same few places. And I think that it really behooves people to have a different experience by going someplace like Fukushima or going up north, or, plenty of people going to Kyoto. Kyoto's going to be there later.
It's going to be there. And also, if you want to drink sake, might not be the best place.
That is a question, though, I think that we can open up, though. Tim, what places do you like for people to have sake from?
Well, I have to say Niigata. I'm contractually obligated to say
All right,
Niigata.
imagining you are not contractually obligated.
My number 2 is one place I visited off the beaten path is Fukuoka. Fukuoka, Japan is it's far from Tokyo, and it's such a wonderful place to visit. And that's something I highly, highly recommend. It's worth the trip, and amazing sake, amazing food. Love it. How about you?
Over the years, I've become increasingly attracted to Aomori for sake. I think that they have a lot of really good brew. I think there's a few that get highlighted, but there's a lot of great stuff from there. They have a style that reminds me of it's like Yamagata and Niigata kind of got together and made sake together. And so it's got that fruit, it's got that little bit of that dryness to it. Wonderful stuff. The regional style there is really fun to drink.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the napkin question?
I don't know.
Yeah. So this is addressed to Tim and John, but I want to include Byron in this as well. What is your favorite Sake Revolution episode?
Oh, I wish you would have given us a hint of the beginning, and we needed to come up with the answer to this.
Why don't I go first? Because I've had time to think.
You
about
have
this.
had time to ferment this idea.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, boo.
Aha.
Yeah.
Yes.
So one of my favorite episodes is the episode where we talked about sake in cosmetics, and I made John Puma wear a face mask, apply a sake kasu face mask.
Yes.
And he has a beard, so it kind of fell off the lower half of his face.
Completely.
And I did have to do some arm twisting to get this episode to happen, but we did it, and I really loved it. And I have a number 2. My number 2 favorite episode is when you got sidelined, and I got to do cheese and sake pairing with your wife, Michelle. So sake and cheese with Michelle is probably my number 2 favorite episode.
Oh, Tim, I have a question here. Do you have plans to do another sake and cheese episode with Michelle?
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I can still remember the cold, wet, all over my face.
From the mask.
Of the mask.
sake
It was
cos-
terrible.
Yeah, it was fun.
A
Yeah.
lot.
Okay, John, do you have a favorite episode?
Honestly, and this kind of just speaks to how I feel about television sometimes, I guess. But I loved the 100th episode, where we had all of our friends, all of our guests that came on to just pop on and say hi. It really it made me smile the entire time we were recording, and we recorded that over the course of 2 hours. It was just such a great time and so much fun to just kind of reminisce and talk to everybody and about this journey that we had all been on together and their part in it. It really just made me smile. It was so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And Byron, which of one of your appearances?
I mean, my favorite episodes definitely don't include me. But
Oh,
the early episodes during the pandemic, I mean,
when we talked like this, bum, bum, bum.
so I think what he's saying is that we were better when we were less comfortable.
it was refreshing. I guess I needed that at that time.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah. So Sake Revolution was born of the pandemic.
Well, that wasn't the plan, though.
It wasn't the plan,
No.
but it happened. It was our pandemic
happened that
project.
way.
It was our pandemic project, and it's been so much fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So we have a few other questions for you. The first one is, Byron, what's next for you, and what's next for Rice Vice? Where are you headed next? Give us the tea.
Interesting. We have another bar in the works.
Oh,
Yeah. So number 3.
nice.
Yeah, it's still pretty early, but we're looking at Huntsville, Alabama,
Nice.
which is, yeah.
No, I'm familiar with the area.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could use a good sake bar.
Yeah. I think so.
I think so, too.
We'll see. And in terms of beverage offerings, we are always working on small batch ferments and small batch distillations, especially to try and refine our cocktail menu and ultimately introduce things that will trick people into drinking sake.
Awesome. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
That's great. That's more fantastic information coming
Yeah, I
from
wasn't
you.
expecting
Yeah.
that drop. That was nice.
This is we're going to have to call this a news episode. This is
Yeah.
Breaking-
Hopefully we can
breaking
follow through
news.
on this.
all right. So our last question to you, Byron, is where can people find you online? If they want to learn more about Proper Sake or Rice Vice, let us know the deets.
Yeah. Our Instagram page, which has gotten a little convoluted with all of the operations, will probably be split into 3 different spaces pretty soon. So if you want to follow all of those, you can. If you're looking for more in-depth stuff, the newsletter is probably the place to go, which you can sign up on the website. And I promise to be gentle with my newsletter offerings.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us the current Instagram handle and your website?
Yes. So propersake_Rice Vice is going to be currently the Instagram handle. And then propersake.co, ricevice.co.
.co. So, okay. Great. And all right. So here we got all of that. Tim, I think we've got most of our our mainline items. I think we start to bring us out.
Yes, it's another sake day in the books. I don't know if I can go back and revise my answer about my favorite episode. I think it might be this one.
Aw.
Yeah.
Tim, you're so sweet.
That's very generous.
Aw.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Byron, thank you so much for coming to New York and being our special VIP guest for Sake Day 2025.
It's an absolute pleasure. Anytime, gents. Anytime. And by that, I mean anytime.
Anytime, Tim.
Yes.
Anytime.
Well, we're looking forward to having your sake in New York, and we are so thrilled that you were able to join us today. This is very meaningful for us and very special, and we're so happy to have you. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
And for all of our listeners who are joining us today, we want to thank you so much for tuning in. And for all our Patreon supporters who are live streaming today, we want to thank you for being here.
And in this room.
And in this
At
room.
least a handful in this room.
Yes. And we want to thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to support Sake Revolution, you can join us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Sake Revolution. You can check that out to learn more.
Yeah, and normally I kind of pick one of these things from the list, but I'm going to kind of go through a few of them today. So number one, show notes. We've got show notes that go on the website for every episode. Tonight's show notes will include photos of the labels for all the sakes you had tonight. It's going to have all the information about Rice Vice, about Proper Sake, their newsletter, everything you're going to want to see. So even if you're here in the room, you probably want to check that out. We always have a written transcript of the episode, and I have mercy on whoever has to transcribe this one because it was a lot. We have swag and t-shirts over at the shop at sakerevolution.com. And, the algorithm still rules. So if you have a place you like to listen to podcasts, please go ahead and leave us a review. So on that note, please raise your glass. You guys catch some sake, right? Okay. Remember to keep drinking sake and...
Come on.